My name is Carrie Sherman, and I am the Special Projects Coordinator for the Business and Tourism Department here at Mount St. Vincent University. Today, our tour hosts will be Max Rastelli, the owner of Segway Nova Scotia, and Adam Bauer, owner of Grand Banker in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. So the way that this is going to work today is that each of our tour hosts will have approximately 30 minutes to give a tour, and then they'll answer some student questions at the end. We received questions from students in advance, but if any questions come up during today's session, students are able to send me a private message in the Zoom chat box. Please keep in mind that we have 30 minutes with each of our presenters, and we may not be able to get to everyone's questions. So first up, we have Max from Segway Nova Scotia. Max, thank you so much for joining us today. We are thrilled to have you here, and I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm pleased to be here. Thanks, everyone, for joining and your interest. I see we have quite a few attending here. So, yeah, so my name is Max Rastelli. I'm the founder and owner of Segway Nova Scotia. And I guess as I'm going through some of this and I'm talking, I'm going to start doing a little bit of screen sharing here and there. It's just going to help me kind of go through what I need to say and maybe visually help you see what it is that I'm saying. So I'm going to begin by doing sharing my screen. And I just want to bring up a few slides. So we've been in business, oh gosh, for over 8 years now. So hopefully most of you have heard of Segway Nova Scotia. I started the company back in 2012. And it's funny, my background is really in the IT industry. I worked for Sun Microsystems for many years and was a business owner. I'm also involved with Sun Microsystems for many years. And right around 2010, I think it was, we took a trip to Italy, and we went on a Segway tour in Rome, and that really had an impact on me, I must say, obviously. So I came back to Canada, continued, working in the IT industry, but I think I started to see that I wanted a career change. I did want to be a business owner. I wanted to continue to be a business owner, and I had some ideas. And then all of a sudden, Segway is looking for dealers and tour operators in Canada, including Nova Scotia. So that really got me thinking, and that's really what started all this, was a trip to Italy. And just my desire, I guess, to do a career change. So this is just off of our website. It explains that we, over the years, we've had over 15,000 riders take our tours from all over the world. And we started out as a tour operator that is doing Segway tours to Halifax and the Halifax area. Then we became a dealer. And then we became a distributor for Segway in Atlantic Canada. And then we became a level 3 certified service center. So we really have a long history now with Segway, and basically that's about all a small business can do with Segway, is be a tour operator, be a distributor, and be a service center. So we were able to do all of that. We did have some milestones along the way. As I mentioned, I started Segway in 2012, but call it crazy or call it whatever. Segways were not legal in Nova Scotia. That is, you could try to sell them to people, you could try to do tours, but you really weren't allowed to go anywhere. You weren't allowed on streets, you weren't allowed on sidewalks. Basically, you had to get permission on private property or stick to some of the trails to do your tours. So I said to myself, how hard can it be to maybe change some of the regulations? Well, it took me 4 years, starting in 2013 with a lot of effort, trying to talk to all the stakeholders and the bureaucrats, both at the provincial and the municipal level. How hard can it be to change the Motor Vehicle Act? And I should never have asked myself that because it was hard. So 4 years later, we finally got the Motor Vehicle Act changed, which legalized Segway personal transporters in Nova Scotia for everybody, not just tour operators. And in fact, we were the first province in Canada to legalize Segway PTs. And I think to this day, we are still technically, officially the only province that has legalized them for everyone. So it's quite the effort. So having said all that, you can see we call the Halifax waterfront our home. We've been there for a number of years. And you can see it was only recently that we became the distributor for Atlantic Canada and the level 3 certification. And maybe at the end, I will talk about HFX e-scooters. If you've been around Halifax this past year, this past summer, you've probably seen our scooters. They were introduced second half of the summer last year, but this year they really took off. Just because this is in the slide deck, I'm just going to go through 2 more slides here, which may actually jump ahead of some of the Q&A stuff that some of you are asking. So we all know what this summer has been like with COVID, and I'm sure the word is getting out, or these numbers will start to come out, that it had a major, major impact on tourism. Last year, I believe tourism somewhere around $2.8 billion in Nova Scotia. That was the revenue generated in the tourism industry. And we were on quite the trend to continue that towards a goal of $4 billion. I think the goal is for 2024. COVID had a major hit on tourism for sure. Tourism revenues, I think, are somewhere around 900 million expected this year. So it's had something like a $1.8 billion hit on tourism, not to mention the visitors. You know, it affects so many businesses, even outside of tourism. Now, you probably heard that there were no cruise ships this year. This certainly had a major impact on us as well as many of the businesses around Halifax. Last year, we had 200 cruise ships come to Halifax with over 300,000 passengers. So obviously we didn't have any of that this year. And the crowds are certainly down on the Halifax waterfront, even locals, the crowds were down. And this small business, Segway Nova Scotia, we saw our revenues down 90% this year. That would have been devastating had it not been for our scooters. And again, I'll talk about the scooters in a moment. So I think one question might have been, you know, what are some of the challenges or challenge going ahead? Just by its very nature, our Segway tours rely on visitors and tourism. So when we don't have visitors coming, obviously it significantly affects us. We did try a couple of things this summer. How do we target locals? We did have a co-op student this year from the Mount, and he was an international student. So he tried to he set up a portal, I think, on a website, and he was really trying to target the international students. To get them maybe interested in trying out Segway tours. And it just never really seemed to get any traction. We've been around Halifax for a number of years now, so I think many of the locals that ever wanted to try a Segway or a Segway tour have probably already done it. On top of that, we had the scooters, the e-scooter rental business going with HFX e-scooters, and it now clearly seems that affected the Segway tours because locals were more interested in the scooters than they were Segways. Another challenge going ahead, this year we get some bad news that Segway is no longer producing the Segway personal transporter. That is the stand-on, self-balancing thing with the 2 big wheels. They are continuing to produce and coming up with new products all the time at the consumer level. Like the scooters, for example, or go-karts, or single wheel, or the Mini Pro, they called it. So a little baby Segway. So there's all sorts of interesting products coming out from Segway, but not the PT. So where does that leave tour operators that have a fleet of Segway PTs going forward? So that is going to be a challenge. We have a lot of Segways, so we can continue to operate for years. I do have parts, I do have lots of Segways, and because we're a service center, we can service our own fleet. but it'll be interesting to see, how long we can get parts out of Segway and how long we will continue to have any software support for the tools that we use to service our PTs. So we're probably going to look to pivot to something. It might continue to be the scooters, it might be something else, but the Segway PTs, the tours, hopefully we can keep going for a number of years going forward anyway. One thing I'm really concerned about is, everybody's talking about when a vaccine might come out, and when it comes out, it's going to solve all our problems and we'll get back to normal. And I just don't have that level of confidence that will happen right away. I'm really concerned that next year may be as bad as this year, even if a vaccine comes out next year, because first of all, you got to produce the vaccine, you got to distribute the vaccine, and then people have to then have the confidence to want to go travel again. And I think that's going to take a while. So we're bracing for 2021 to be very similar to this year. I hope I'm wrong. But even if that does happen, thank goodness for e-scooters. And I'll talk about e-scooters in a minute. And just another challenge that I think most businesses are seeing is that we do have to follow public health guidelines. And this just puts an extra burden on not only us, on any business that has to deal with, physical distancing and sanitizing their environment and keeping people, apart and so on. So, I want to show a quick little video, which kind of sums up what our business is all about. So this is a little fun promotional video that we did, and I muted the music because it's distracting. I can talk a little bit about it. This is our little mascot. It's a little lobster that someone designed for us, riding a Segway. So we call him Claus. And of course, our home is our start and ending locations for all our tours are on the Halifax waterfront. So this is what we call home. It is a great boardwalk. I assume that anybody that's here in the city has been down to the Halifax waterfront. Last summer, they saw nearly 3 million people walk the Halifax waterfront because they did electronic pedestrian counters. And it is considered the #1 tourism destination in Nova Scotia. And it's right here in our backyard. So of course, if you've been down there, you know what it has to offer. It's really close to the water, it's got great scenery, and of course, a lot of people. Our city tours do take us up on the Citadel Hill. And of course, it's great for visitors. It's great to go up there on Segways and show them the views from Citadel Hill. And this is one of our guides, Emma, a little pink Segway there with the red helmet. She's been with us probably for 6 or 7 years. We love Emma, to the point where we had to paint one of our Segways pink just for her. Yeah, we really missed the nice boats and yachts this year on the waterfront. Of course, you're going to see some changes next spring on the Halifax waterfront at Queen's Mark. The new building there by the cable wharf, that's finally, that boardwalk is all going to be reopened with a beautiful new facility, Queen's Mark, open. So that's going to change the waterfront for sure.
Max, do you want to tell us where we can find you along the waterfront?
Yes, so right here, this area, you may notice a little bit of sand on the right. So that's the beach volleyball area. Some may know where I Heart Bikes is. It's an area called Sands at Salter. So that's where our shipping container is, and that's where our location is. It's considered part of the new salt yard. Salt yard is where all the seasonal vendors are, where the beer garden is there on the waterfront. It's kind of middle of the waterfront. If you think about the Halifax seaport as one end, and perhaps historic properties is the other end. We're kind of in the middle. All right, so I think you get the idea. So you just stop there for a second. And I'm just going to go to my notes for a second to make sure I am sorry about this. I'm just trying to find my background.
Wonderful. Well, while you're doing that, maybe I'll just ask you a quick question. So you had a huge part in bringing this Segways into Canada and like developing in Nova Scotia. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and how this all became what you were doing? Like what inspired you to do this?
Yeah, it was a midlife crisis. No, well, maybe in a way it was, but it was just timing, right? As I may have said earlier, Segway was actually actively going out and looking for entrepreneurs and businesses to become dealers, to introduce the Segway product into their area or province. So that is kind of where I landed. One was just the timing that I was looking for something interesting, something different to do. And then in the back of my mind, I did have that Segway tour we did back in Italy, and that really intrigued me. And I think even that first day, that first ride I had on a Segway, I started thinking about, what if I could do a Segway tour business back in Halifax, right? So it was those two things. And there was a great person representing Segway who I worked with and made it relatively easy for me to get started. Again, the biggest hurdle for sure was trying to change the laws, which did take us 4 years to do. And looking back, I remember last year I said, I don't know if I would ever do that again. Just go through all that regulatory stuff, and what did I do last year? I started HFX e-scooters, and I brought in unregulated electric scooters, and now all the bureaucrats are trying to figure out the rules and the regulations and the laws about it. So here we go again. It's like deja vu. It's actually kind of funny when you look at it that way. For those that we hire, and we've hired a lot of students from the Mount. Probably 80% of the people we've hired have been from the Mount. That included co-op and non-co-op students. So hey, I don't know what it is about the Mount, but they seem to produce some great people. So typically, I'm going to screen share again, and I'm going to just show you how we typically do a little training session, if that's okay. I don't know what my time is here, but I want to leave some time for questions.
Yeah, you have about 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So here we have, now this area by the beach volleyball area, this is all paved now, so it looks much better now that it's paved and it doesn't have that pressure dust. So here's how we typically will train a group. We show them a training video, safety video first, and then we get them outside and we line them up, and we do a little demonstration, sort of go over all the basics. Basically, we repeat what the video shows, but then we reinforce that with some one-on-one training here. So I'm just giving a little demonstration, how it all works. And then eventually, myself and the other guides that may be working that day, we will take each of these people one-on-one, maybe 2 at a time, and we will use all of this area around us. And it's a great location because, other than the people that might be walking through the area, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of space for us to do our training. So we've got quite a good environment. I've taken tours, all over, in Europe and the US and other parts of Canada. And I know one of the training sessions that I took, I forget where it was, a couple actually, it was all indoors, if you can believe that, in their indoor retail space. which clearly you don't get the level of training that we can do outside. So now I know the time is going quick. I don't know if you've been down to the waterfront or if anyone out there that's attending has tried our electric scooters, but what a hit it was in Halifax this year. If it were not for the scooters, we would have been in big trouble as a business. But the scooters more than made up for it. I wouldn't necessarily call it a pivot that we did this because of COVID. We started it actually the end of last summer. So it was really, a calculated addition to our Segway tours. And we do e-scooter rentals. We started a second company called HFX e-scooters. And what a hit it was. I can't tell you how pleased we are. I think in some ways COVID actually helped the e-scooter rental business. I think it's a very individual thing. It's all outdoors. We don't necessarily even engage with many of the people that ride our scooters. They just walk up to it and unlock it. And during COVID, during those early months, people I think were just really looking for something to do, and get outside, and the scooters seem to answer that. We have over now over 21,000 people that have downloaded our app and have registered as a scooter rider, and that's just here in Halifax. So that was very cool. We're happy with that.
Wow, that's
And
great.
yeah, one last little video. This is a little promo video.
Maybe while this is playing, we can talk a little bit about your scooters and your Segway tours. So this virtual tour is really all about sustainable businesses. And we know that there are a lot of tours that happen, especially in Halifax, with this being such a huge tourist destination. So how does your company kind of compete and...
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat that. That video had music that was blaring in my ears, so if you didn't hear the music, then I'm the only one that heard the music. But
yeah, no problem. Just this tour is all about our sustainable businesses. And there are so many tours that happen in Halifax with the tourist industry so large here. So how does your company stand in terms of sustainability compared to other tours such as bus tours that happen?
Well, we're certainly very pleased that by their very nature, both Segway personal transporters and the e-scooters, of course, there's zero emissions during operation. They're all electric, so they're about as green as you get, for the environment. So in that regard, our operations are very sustainable and very, eco-friendly, if you will. We do everything that we can. We're a rather simple business, right? Because really we hire people. Our products last a long time. Well, the Segway PQs last a long time. The scooters not so much. But we like to think that we are very sustainable, environmentally friendly.
Wonderful. So you have such a unique company and business compared to a lot of the other attractions that are offered here in Halifax, especially down at the waterfront. So what is the competition like for Segway tours against other entertainment options along the waterfront specifically?
Yeah, it's a great question. Oddly enough, just because we're unique and we're the only game in town, and certainly people seek us out. We actually compete with the likes of the kayak rental companies, bike rental companies, the harbor hopper, any of the tour companies, because really what we're doing is we're competing for the dollar. And so, if you have a visitor, that visitor may not have the time or the inclination to spend hundreds of dollars on a whole bunch of different tours. So they have to pick and choose. So other tour operators around, Canada and the world have said, Max, you should put your prices up. This is a unique thing we have, right? You can ask more. And I go, no, but Halifax is different. We got the waterfront there. We got a lot of other businesses. all competing for that visitor and for their dollar. So I see them all as competitors, really, for that reason. Like all the tour operators, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and that's a great segue. Segue.
Yeah.
How many times do you use that pun?
I've heard it a couple times.
But that's a great segue into like the service that your company provides is quite unique. So how do you motivate your business to move forward in a segment that may not have much direct competition? Like what motivates you?
I guess the one thing that motivates me is how fun they are and the reaction that people get when they get on them, ride them, and then go out on a tour. And that is the reaction that I still remember that I had, back in Italy when we took our first tour. And one thing I remember saying to myself and saying like, and we had, a whole bunch of different diverse people in that group that day, and they all had the same reaction. They all, the big smile, right? We call it the Segway smile. You get on with them, you can't help but smile. It's just such a good time. And that part is very rewarding to see that response from people. Hey, summer, it's outside, it's the Halifax waterfront. I spend my entire summer outside. How can you not like that? So that helps. And also the fact that it is, it's my business, right? So I really like being a business owner. There's certainly risks associated with that. There's stresses associated with that. So those are the things, I guess, that keep me going with Segway business.
Amazing. And as you mentioned, you recently expanded into the e-scooters, and I've seen them all over Halifax all summer long. Do you have any plans to expand further?
Yes, I hope to. I want to. But because this year, we wrote a letter to the mayor and all the councillors and the city and the province and the police about a year and a half ago, explaining how we wanted to introduce e-scooters to Halifax. But the funny thing is that we didn't really ask for permission. We just explained how we wanted to do this, right? A controlled or a soft introduction. And without getting into too much detail, the city never pushed back. So in some ways, I think they welcomed us because shared micromobility is something that the city is looking at and wants to get into. So they have to figure out the regulations, they have to figure out the rules, the bylaws, if there are any. The new Transportation Safety Act, which is going to replace the Motor Vehicle Act, it's going to have something in there for e-scooters. So all the stakeholders are actually quite interested in what we're doing. And I think that's why they effectively let us do it. But next year, we don't know what those regulations are going to look like. We don't know if the competition is coming in, like these billion-dollar companies like Lime and Bird and Uber now has an e-scooter part of their business. And we don't know if the city is going to impose additional fees for operators like me. So, there are some uncertainties going forward, but fingers crossed that we can expand the scooter business next year. It is quite popular, and I expect it to be popular next year.
That's great. Well, if you're expanding, we're hoping that you're going to continue to bring in some of our Mount students as part of your team. So I think I want to end with the question as to what are you looking for in a team member, and like how do we get involved?
Right. So I guess for us probably the most important thing, because we are interfacing with people all the time, is personality and someone who is outgoing. I mean, that's huge for me, and that's probably one of the first things I look at. People, they have to be able to communicate well. You saw that we do have to train all our riders, and there is a script that we need to not necessarily memorize, but these are historical tours to some degree and sightseeing tours. So you need to sort of have a bit of a love or a passion for your city. Love the city, love what you're saying about the city, the sites. Obviously, we're looking for someone that's reliable. We're looking for someone that's flexible. Our hours tend to be all over the place. Every day is a Monday, every day is a Saturday. The days just kind of blur together when Segway season is open. And so yeah, so I would say that that's, you know, the key attributes, I guess, if of people that we're looking for.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Max. This has been wonderful.
My pleasure.
It's been great. Thank you so much. If our students want to get in contact with you, do you have a contact? Or should they visit the—
Super easy to find. If you just go to our website, segwayns.com, you'll see a little pull down menu for contact. So my phone number's there, my email address is there. I'm pretty easy to find.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Max.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. All right. Well, our next guest is Adam Bauer. Now, Adam is a professor here at the Mount, but he is also the owner of Grand Banker, Shipwright, and the Brigantine Inn in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks.
All right. Well, I'm just going to hand the reins over to you.
Excellent. So my name's Adam Bauer. I'm the owner of the Grand Banker Bar and Grill, Shipwright Brewing Company, and the Brigantine Inn in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. I am from Lunenburg originally, and I grew up working at this restaurant. Actually, I came full circle into ownership of this place about 6 years ago. So a little bit about myself from how I get in the industry. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was graduating high school, and my last year of before grade 12, I get a job bussing tables and doing dishes at a restaurant just outside of my home bay in Mater's Cove called the Tingle Bridge, a little tea house there. And I was washing dishes there for about a month, and the owner said to me that she saw me going out into the restaurant when I was bussing the tables and talking with people, and she kind of saw my personality a bit, and she felt I was well suited for learning how to serve. So I didn't intend to do that. I got offered the position serving, and I really enjoyed it. And what originally was my kind of passion for the industry that drew me into it was basically talking with tourists about why they came to Nova Scotia. And, you know, I really developed some pride for my hometown and my area that I lived in. And it wasn't the food and beverage side originally, that developed later, but it was really just, I became really proud of where I was from. I moved around a lot growing up. I was born and grew up here, but with my father's job growing up, it took me to South Carolina. It took me to France, and we moved around, you know, over a 4-year span. I was in, you know, a school in 3 different countries and 2 continents. But every time we always came back to our family home here in Lunenburg. And, you know, especially after leaving, I really appreciated what this small town had to offer here and what a world-class destination it was. And, you know, that was from talking to tourists. So I talked to my guidance counselor in high school, and, you know, she directed me towards Mount St. Vincent's Tourism and Hospitality Management Program. So I applied to the Mount, and that was, not to date myself, but back in 98 that I started at the Mount, 97, 98. And I took the Tourism and Hospitality Management degree. I continued to work at the Grand Banker for my first co-op, and I served for my work term. I did another work term at Murphy's on the Water in Halifax. So I got to experience working in the Halifax waterfront, which was really great. That was a much bigger place, and you know, different work experience I gained from that. And my third work term, I wanted to come back to Lunenburg. I missed being here in the summer. It's a fun time to be here. And also I knew that there was a good possibility after university I could end up moving away for a job somewhere. So I came back here, and I was offered an assistant manager position for my work term. I basically went to the current owner at the time, and I told him I had to do something different with more responsibility in order to do a second work term here. And he offered me the assistant manager role of the restaurant and the inn. There was no brewery at the time. That's something I've added in since. So yeah, after university, I didn't really, I wanted to stay back in Nova Scotia, but there was really nothing jumping out that it was for me or, you know, good experience for me at the time. And I applied to Fairmont Hotels and Resorts. I had a friend that worked at the resort in Jasper, Alberta, and I got the position there. and I was able to spend about 5 years in Jasper. And I did everything from managing, pub-style restaurants to Five Diamond, high-end restaurants with, Wine Spectator, Wine List. I got to do banquet events for, thousands of people. I was able to be part of a small team that was selected to serve the Queen of England in Prince Philip. That was pretty special for sure, and quite an experience to go through all the protocols and security background checks and you name it. And then, it was 5 years later that I wanted to make my way back to Nova Scotia. I originally thought I'd go to Jasper for a year, and next thing you know, it was close to 5, and I was still there. Basically every year I thought about leaving, a new opportunity opened there. So one thing I can recommend to students, I mean, if you get that opportunity to work for a big company or on a resort, atmosphere like that, you can really get a lot of experience in a short period of time. I did everything, like I said, from pubs to interim dining to fine dining to you name it there. Those who stick around there really can move around pretty fast. So I wanted to move back to Nova Scotia, and there was actually a co-op advisor from the Mount at the time who I'd stayed in touch with, who told me that there was a position opening at the Delta Halifax and Delta Barrington to manage the outlets. So that connection from Mount St. Vincent really helped me get back east. She told me that the general manager, Mary Dempster, who many people in the industry here know, she was going to be in Jasper for a TIAC award, Tourism Industry Association of Canada award. She was accepting. So I sent a little spa package and a card to her room, and one of my chefs actually had worked for her before, and he checked, and I sent her her card, and I had a meeting with her the next day. And it was a week later, I was on some phone calls, and next thing you know, I was moving back east. I moved back east with she was my girlfriend at the time, and now my wife. She's from Niagara region. She moved back to Nova Scotia with me, and I worked for Delta Hotels for close to 5 years. I got that city center experience, which was much different than resorts. On resorts, you typically see most your hotel guests in the restaurant. On a city center property, especially in Halifax, there's so many restaurants on their doorstep basically that you really got to fight the market to keep them in there. And there I was able to do a lot of outside catering, which I hadn't done before. We used to cater all the food and beverage events for the Tall Ship Silva and the Citadel Hill Fort at the time. And my general manager, my regional vice president at the time at Delta, was very connected in the music industry. And he got us the food and beverage contracts for a lot of big concerts in Halifax for years. We did Kiss, Nickelback, Keith Urban, Paul McCartney. Who else? I'm trying to think. Is Offspring, you name it. For years, we did all the food and beverage for those events, and that was a big experience. It's something that I still use today, from setting up a whole entire concert grand operation like that. So fast forward to today. So now I own the Grand Banquet Bar and Grill. Bought it 6 years ago. Like I said, the old owner, who was a mentor to me, who I'd stayed in contact with, he called me when he was selling, gave me the first shot at buying it, and I was able to take it over. He mentored through me the process of becoming a business owner. I had been responsible for food and beverage departments for big companies before, and had to report to shareholders and ownership. But I had never been an owner myself, and there's a lot of things you wouldn't know going into it. You'd learn the hard way sometimes and figure it out yourself. But I was very fortunate to have a mentor that I wanted to see the business succeed, and really, help me through it. And was able to do a lot of great things that I'm proud of over the last 6 years. One good thing about buying a restaurant that I grew up working in, I knew what worked, and I knew what was on the table that I could change and enhance the operation here. There's certain dishes that have been on the menu since the place opened in it was 96 the place opened, and I knew what to keep, and I knew what I could really set myself apart with and create some excitement. And I knew my hometown. I knew the people here, the generations of family here, and I knew what would work with the experience I gained from being away and working for bigger companies that I could bring to my community, and they really reacted well to it. Last summer, we had more than tripled the revenue from before I bought it, the last summer before I bought it. So, we've grown the revenue, and we won Restaurant of the Year from Tasting Nova Scotia in all of Nova Scotia in 2017. I've had the restaurant on the Food Network, on Canada AM, Global News. We've gotten a lot of media coverage, and it's been a lot of fun. So the little bit about the structure of the company. So I'm the owner and acting general manager. I have a restaurant manager who runs the front of house, and I have a kitchen manager, my chef, and I have a office manager who is also my in-house accountant, and I also have a brewmaster who runs my brewery. So that's my management team. On a normal summer, I would have about 45 staff. We would have been closer to 50 this year, but because of COVID, of course, things were much different. We run with about 35 staff year round. And the good thing is I was able to keep all those people on, which is great. The brewery was added in about a year and a half ago. It's a small little nano brewery now. I had some space in this building that I was able to utilize and fit a small brewing system in. And that's very small right now, but I do have a property I purchased across town that I'm going to build a bigger production brewery. That should have already been done, but it was put on hold with COVID. And with that being done, we'll be able to be in liquor stores and on top of the other restaurants. Currently, my beer is just on tap here at the Grand Banker, and we have a little tap room upstairs. You can buy a pint, and we also sell cans to go there as well. The inn is eight guest rooms in total. 7 of them are in this building, and then across the street, I own a house that has my office and a 2-bedroom suite. You can rent it as well. Most of the rooms all have waterfront views, and everything here is open year round, which locals really appreciate, having more options year round. We normally do a lot of live entertainment here, comedy shows, live music, every genre you can think of. We've had to put that on hold this year with our spacing issues, which I'll show you and get into shortly. And we're normally 68 seats here. We're closer to 42 to 44 seats right now, with the measurements we're put in place for COVID, which you'll see shortly. So my passion for local runs pretty deep. That's why I get excited and get up every morning. That I'm excited to get up every morning. Being a Taste of Nova Scotia member that's an organization that pushes and supports local. I'm on the executive there, and I'm very passionate about supporting local suppliers. We use local seafood from fishermen right here in the Lunenburg waterfront. Our scallops, you can see the scallop draggers right out the windows of the restaurant where we get them from. I get my lobster from Lunenburg Fish Company, my haddock, my mussels, you name it. Our beef is Atlantic beef. I try to get everything local I can, for sure. On the beverage list too, I am a sommelier, and we have wines from around the world. I try to put wines in our list that are classic wine regions and have really good representation there. And we have lots of local Nova Scotian wines, a very big selection of those. We have local spirits from Ironworks Distillery down the road and many other Nova Scotia spirit companies. We have a lot of local craft beer. That's why I started the craft brewery. I have a big passion for craft beer. We have 17 taps, and we have Keats on there. Has a nice local story, and then the other 16 taps are all craft. And 9 of the taps are rotating, so you come in, it could be something different every time. I try to support all the breweries I can, for sure. The big thing I want to do coming back to Lunenburg is I wanted to bring some options for people that normally you would have to go to Halifax for. And at the time, there was really only 2 breweries that were on top for local breweries in Lunenburg. And I brought all these other breweries here, and others have followed suit since. But we're really supportive industry here. We all work well together. I'm friends with all the other restaurant owners, and it's a really great community vibe here. Some challenges right now, of course, are COVID. I will take you through some of the changes I had to make, and I'll walk you through while I do. But we've really rolled with them well, I feel. We were closed for a couple months when we were shut down. We didn't do takeout at the beginning. It wasn't really working for us. But I was selling beer out of the brewery, and we were able to sell enough beer basically to pay my fixed bills. We're down about 70% this year. The subsidies, of course, help make up work for a lot of that. But still, it's when you're down 70%, you're down 70%. There's only so much you can make up. The summer months we were down about 55%, but 70% for the year. But we are in good position going into the winter. I'm still smiling. I'm not stressed, so that's a good sign. So some of the challenges with COVID. So the measures we put in place, we put in plexiglass dividers so we could not have the need for 6 feet between all the tables where we could get it. We put hand sanitizing stations in. Even the doors we put, I may as well walk you through and show you to you. I'm talking to you. Just gonna flip the camera around here. You can see how to do that. Oh, here we go. Perfect. All right. So you can see here, we have plexiglass dividers between the tables. I had these built. I wanted them to try to blend in with the aesthetics here as much as possible. So they weren't cheap, but I didn't want to take away from the look of the restaurant. In between the booths, we put higher dividers to get some separation there. And just take you through here. So all the staff are wearing masks here. They wear them in the kitchen as well too. So we have lots of booth seating, lots of window views. We put plexiglass all around the bar. Just take you in the back of house here. This is the service station. This is the kitchen. Small kitchen, but hello everyone. Small kitchen, but good thing is you don't have to go far for anything. So we have hand sanitizer. You go when you come in. We have it by the washrooms, basically every entrance. Go outside. I shouldn't lose connection. I should be good. So we have a pretty beautiful view here. We're pretty lucky. It's not hard to come to work and look at this every day. Pretty fortunate. It's funny, you do take it for granted here growing up, but you move away and you get into this industry and then you wake up and there's not a day I don't appreciate this. Something else we put in, we used when I was in Delta Halifax before, those foot door openers. You can open the door with your foot without having to touch the handle. Those are on all our doors that swing out. And we put in this takeout window. Never thought I'd be doing this here. So people who still don't want to come in the restaurant, or you know, in the summer when it was really busy and we couldn't fit everyone in here, they could get to take good food. Basically, I put a little electronic doorbell in that's wireless. It rings back in the service station. They come, they slide open this window, they take their order, and we have a text notification system when their food's ready. We also put in a text notification for people on our wait list or reservations, so they weren't standing and congesting the basically the entryway there. So that's something new we added in that I will continue to use. That is people really enjoy having. They can walk around town and not have to stand here and wait for a table. Is the connection good? You can see everything okay?
Yep, it's great so far, Adam.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna go upstairs. As you can see, it was pretty quiet in there right now. We've been busy on the weekends, but some weeknights we've been really good. Actually, do a lot of reservations tonight, so it should pick up. We had some regulars around the bar that we get you around. I'm gonna take you in one of the guest rooms. So I renovated the whole entire restaurant since I've bought the place, added in the brewery, done some touch up in the guest rooms, but that's my next project is to basically renovate these as well. But get some beautiful views. All the rooms are they're all named after boats. This one's called the Picton Castle. I don't know if you saw when we came in. And every room has a story about every boat has a tie to Lunenburg, was either built here or has called Lunenburg its home port. And this room does have a deck as well. So again, not a bad view. And to check in your guest rooms here, you just check in at the bar down in the restaurant. Especially when we do events in the off season. Normally we do a lot of winemaker brewmaster dinners and We market them in Halifax, and we usually get a lot of people down on the weekend from Halifax for overnight stays. They can sleep upstairs and get downstairs to some unique local events, and it's worked very well for us. Those will be limited this year depending on what we can fit, but we're going to try to do something for sure. All right, so this is a brewery. It's a smaller spot for sure. We squeeze a lot in this small space. We have a fridge back here that all our taps are hooked up to on the other side. This is our brew house. So basically takes 3 batches on this small system to fill one of these tanks. And these tanks are 400-liter tanks, and we yield about 303 liters each batch. And we had to put we had to get a structural engineer to put steel beams in here to hold the weight of these tanks for about 1,000 pounds each full. And this place was built as it was a house originally, so you can imagine it wasn't meant to hold that weight. And then we sell the cans. These are 32-ounce crowler cans. They're about 1 liter in each can. And we basically seam these right behind the bar. See, here's our cans down here. And then we have this can seamer here that we use to we fill them to order. We purge them with CO2, and we fill them, and we seam them right behind the bar here. And we can make them to order, and we also pre-fill them, so when people come in, there's something ready to grab. A little room for our merchandise. And then we have, some different local goods here, chips and hot sauce and the mustard that's made in town, nuts and some local meat. And this is going to be eventually our pilot system when we have the other brewery. And we'll still use this for smaller, unique batches. And we'll still have an area downtown to sell in the heart of the tourist district. So we have a little patio area out here on the sidewalk. Normally we can seat about 12 people out here. We're down to 4 right now with the restrictions, and we can only have 1 little group around the bar inside here. And hopefully I don't lose you. I'm going to go back in the restaurant. Still got you okay?
Yeah.
Try to flip this around. There we go. Yeah, just a few of the questions that I had in advance there. As far as the impacts on tourism, obviously it was way down. All the places opened up this year in town here. It's a great thing to see, and they all seem to come from Halifax. A lot of day trippers and people for overnight stays were just close enough. And also opening up the Atlantic bubble really helped us with getting people overnight here from New Brunswick and PEI. We saw a lot of those plates in town. My hope is, the next step is that I see us staying with these current restrictions. Myself, I'm prepared to for a little while here. My hope is that, if the numbers go down in other provinces in Canada that are having problems right now, then we could eventually open up Canada as the next step. And I really feel that tourism would be, it wouldn't be where it was before, but it'd be a lot closer, even without the States. If Canadians could travel and stay within Canada, they wouldn't be able to go to the States either. And I think we'd see a big capture, a big draw here in Nova Scotia. We're known as a very safe place. We're always going to be a top destination, and I think that'd be a good next step. But I'm prepared. You got to prepare for the worst. It's a new definition of the worst, and if we had to do this again next summer, we're prepared to. But I'm hopeful that Canada will eventually open up, and I know that that's what most people are hoping for.
That's great, Adam. I have a few questions from students, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great.
Right. So you talked a little bit about COVID, and I know that COVID has had a big impact on the fishermen in Nova Scotia. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that has affected your business and the sustainability of your products and your ingredients that you're using?
Yeah, I'm able to get I'm able to get basically everything I was before. I'm buying from local fishermen still, all the same people. I really haven't had any product issues as far as local goes. My shortages have come from my main food distributor, from the truck basically that brings, some of your commodities. There has been some odd shortages with manufacturers that, in plants that have had to have spacing separation there and less people working and people off. So I've had some odd shortages with commodities, but I haven't had any from local suppliers that I've had to order from. I've been able to get pretty much everything from the smaller guys, which is good.
That's great, especially supporting local businesses during these times. So I know that you do support a lot of local businesses, and this tour is also all about sustainability. So can you talk a little bit about the sustainable practices that you use?
Yeah, for sure. We try to use everything local we can, and be as environmentally friendly as we can. One thing that COVID did for us too is we had to focus on our TACO program, and I'll admit that was an area that we had opportunity in using more environmentally friendly products as well. So we switched over, got rid of everything that we switched all the paper goods we can, and we worked with our suppliers to really kind of be better on our carbon footprint here. And we try to use, like I said, every local supplier we can, and find multiple ways to use their product in different dishes. I mean, one thing that COVID has done, it's we've had to really look at our costs and have a hard look at how we can save money. And one of those things we've done is looking at our menu on a weekly basis and adjusting it constantly, putting it in the house, and finding ways that we can have less waste and use products across multiple dishes. And we always support a local, but it's that much more important. They're having a hard time. They're the smaller guys that are having a hard time like us. And we didn't stop supporting local and doing all we can to promote each other.
That's great. And from what you've said, you have so much experience in restaurant, tourism, and hospitality. So you mentioned that when you came in, you kind of redid the restaurant. It has a new look to it. So do you want to talk about how it has changed since you've come in terms of like ambiance, menu items?
Yeah, for sure. The floor plan in here is the same from when I bought it. That worked really well. Basically, the main thing I did was I changed the colors. I changed the light fixtures and all the materials as far as the seating goes. I refinished everything and went with a new look. And I basically made it a little bit sleeker. I mean, Alan, who owned it for me, always kept it up. So it was in good shape, which was great. But there's, some yellows, and I think the light fixtures had like a tiger print on them. And it was, there was certain things that kind of bugged me since I bought it. But I just gave it a sleeker look. It already had nice black and white photos of boats that have to do with Lunenburg, and so you walk in and you get a sense of community with all the nice photographs in here. That worked well. They were already all black frames, which worked great. I basically just enhanced the look by different finishes for the most part. When it comes to the menu, that's something. Yeah, I kept a certain number of dishes that I know will be there for the test of time, and they'll stand the test of time. And I tried to take local to another level, and the areas where we weren't using local, I pushed that even further. Basically every 6 months we sit down and we look at what other restaurants are doing, and we look at our competitive set. And from my experience that I get from traveling, I bring back ideas. I sit down with my chef and we try to create some exciting dishes. One we put on the menu that's gotten a lot of press, as an example, would be our Lunenburger. So it's a local ground beef burger on a brioche bun from a local bakery. We put knuckle and claw lobster meat on there, which sounds like an odd combination, but the salt and sweet really work well together. We put a tarragon butter sauce. some spinach for good measure, and some smoked bacon, and we pick it with a bacon wrapped scallop. I wanted to have, our kind of contribution to the gourmet burger trend that's been going on for years, and something that's Lunenburg. And we're known for fishing, so the surf and turf fit the bill. Network, Canada, and Global News, and people come in and ask for it. So we're kind of able to create some new signature dishes that are staying on the menu, and then every season we do something different. Like we're about to put on some short rib poutine. We have a line-in lamb that's on the menu. It's another classic dish, but it wasn't ours. A friend of mine, their family owned an inn in Lunenburg for decades, and they had closed it, and people came from all over Canada, and this dish was written about, this lamb dish, and they passed on the dish to me and gave me the recipe. They wouldn't give it to anyone else, and actually the husband had passed, and the wife just remembered what went in the dish. She didn't remember how much of the quantities. So she came in with two of their best regulars they had at the restaurant over the years, and she went in the kitchen, and we just tweaked everything until we got it right, and put that on the menu. So I like to put dishes on that have a story, either by way of knowing the supplier and being able to tell a lot about the product and where it's from and our connection to it, or something that has a story or a local tie. My staff, it's an engaging way for the staff to connect with the guests when they can really tell them about what they're eating, what they're drinking, and our kind of connection to it.
Wow, that's great. It sounds like you have a really solid business and like a really solid community around you.
Sure.
So do you have any plans for expanding your business, possibly opening like a secondary location?
As far as the restaurant goes, I don't. But the breweries, the expansion is in the, that those plans were put on hold. We do have for the expansion of the production brewery. We do have all the drawings done. I bought the property. We have all the plans, equipment picked out. And we were about to put in our building permit request when this all happened. I guess that is going to be next. And we will have a tap room out there, a bigger tap room, and an outside patio. And the plans, it's looking like we're probably going to put wood-fired pizzas out there, because wood-fired pizzas go great with beer, and that's something nice to have inside.
That sounds great. I'm very excited to see that in the future. So you are a Mount grad, and now you are a professor with our department. Yeah. So you've kind of come full circle. And I'm assuming that you're hiring a lot of people. So do you have any advice for our Mount students in terms of attributes that you're looking for in recruiting or hiring, or any just advice for entering the industry?
I'm very happy to be teaching at the Mount. It's funny, I always wanted to own the Grand Banker when I left here, and I never told the owner. But that's why I got into this industry. I saw what he had here in Lunenburg, and I wanted something like this for myself one day. And I got the phone call when he was selling. And when I left the Mount, I thought, geez, I knew people and other instructors who were in the industry and taught, and I always enjoyed their contribution. And I always wanted to do this too. So when when this opened up and became an opportunity, I've come full circle in both ways. So it's pretty fortunate. When looking for jobs, one thing for us, I'm looking for people who are personable and passionate and willing to learn, passionate about what they do and willing to learn. That's the basis. If you can come to work every day and be positive and be eager to learn new things and pass on that passion to our guests, other things can be taught. That's the main thing I'm looking for. To get for any jobs you do obtain, find someone who can be a mentor to you and who will invest the time. And even when you're looking for a job, if you can find one where you feel someone is going to offer you some mentorship and who cares about what your interests are as well, and not just what theirs are as a business, and they can help you learn and grow, that's really important. I've been very fortunate in every step of my career. I've had someone who's filled that role, and I'm still in touch with them all today. And every step I made was because of those connections and mentorships. That's been so important to me. But yeah, and always be willing to take on new things, new responsibilities. Step in where you can help and show some leadership when you see opportunities, and be the one who is always willing to help and pick up a shift and who will step up and serve that VIP table, or things others may shy away from. If you can be the one that your employer finds you reliable and can depend on you. Once you get the job, those are all ways to really set yourself apart.
Amazing. That is great advice. Thank you so much, Adam. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to this.
Thank you.
It's been great. Awesome. Well, that is the end of our virtual
I appreciate it. It's a
tour.
lot of fun.
Wonderful. That is the end of our virtual tour. So for students who are participating in our Learning Passport program, please remember to complete your reflection survey forms and submit it to the correlating Dropbox on Moodle within 48 hours. Thank you.